Hi everyone. So in this video what we are going to do is, now after we have created our domain model and all the tests for the creation of the order, let's actually take a look into the UI. And I think this will be, actually take a couple of videos to actually get that to a point where we want that. I think for this one we can actually start with just, start creating a general UI for managing orders, and then we actually will see, what the limitations of that are. So let's get started. Here we have our application. It's already running. So what we can go ahead here is, to go to our order entity and say we would like to have a new screen. And then in this case, we will, just go ahead and create an order browse screen, and then also an order editor. So like having a detailed form for the order. And yeah, I think for now we can just leave it like this. And just take a look on what data we need. So in the list view or in the browse screen, we don't actually need the order lines, but instead, perhaps the customer and the order date. So I probably think this will be enough. For the editor, it will actually be perhaps more interesting to not only see the customer, but also the order lines. And for the order lines, so by default, we want to have like the start and the end date, and then also the stock item in order to see which item we actually have at our fingertips here. And right now it's only if we open this one up here, once again, it only shows the identifier. But what we probably also want to have is the product information. So let's add that as well here. And I think with that we can mainly just generate the screens for now and then take a look at the result. So since the application is already running, we can go into the running or into the browser and take a look. So now we should have an order. Yeah, sometimes it takes a little bit until it actually hot reloaded. So now we have our order screen, and right now it by default displays the order date and the customer, since these are the only two attributes, or like, let's say, non-technical attributes that this entity actually has. And now we have, this create order. Okay, so this already looks a little bit suspicious here. I think we can go into the source code and take a look on what is going on. So it will not be the order browser, but actually the order editor. And so, I think this is related to this particular attribute, but I'm not sure. We could also take a look at the screen. So here it just looks fine. It just wants to have a column for the stock item. Yeah, so perhaps we can for now just remove this one here and see if this already helps. And if not, then we can give it another try. IDs must be unique. Okay, so it's actually about the table. Set visible columns. Duplicate ID stock item. So, so actually here it has been generated twice. I'm not sure why this is happening. So let me just, get my property back here, and we remove the stock item. Yeah, so the ID has to be unique, apparently, but I think this is just a problem in the generation of the source code. So let's try it once again. Okay, so now we have our order, and we can enter an order for a particular order date, and then select a customer. And okay, so here right now we don't have any. And when we create an order line, so right now there's an exception because we don't have yet an order line editor. So let's just go ahead and create that as well. For that, we actually only need an editor and not an additional entity browser. I think we can also put that into the screen sub package here. We can make it a modal dialog. And yeah, so probably here we also want to have information about the product, but let's see how this actually turns out. For now, we can even leave it like this, and just have the start and the end date additionally to the actual stock item. Okay, so with this editor, let's take a look at how it looks now. If we select create, then it will actually let us create a particular start and end date, and then also select a particular stock item. So next problem here is that the stock item browser we have not yet defined. So let's go ahead and do that. And then we should be finally be able to have a working skeleton for this user interface. And yeah, I think for now we can just go with both of those, and let's say it will be screen. Okay, so we already have a screen for the stock item, so let's actually double check where this is. So here we already have stock item added, and so what we are currently only missing then is the stock item browse screen in order to select one. Okay, so then let's go ahead and select this, and it will actually be screen stock item. And yeah, we can just leave all of this there and just add the product there in order to see the corresponding information. So we can put it to the main menu, but it is not really the point of this video, because our current goal, because what we only want to have is to be able to select a particular stock item. So now we have that here. And with that we are able just to select now everything and actually store everything. So in order to do that, I actually have to create a particular stock item. Okay, so this also does not yet work because the product association is not rendered here in this form. So we would have to go with that as well. Yeah, I think probably what we can do is we go here to the product and just add our add our whatever product that is. And here now we can create a couple of stock items, and this is actually the reason why normally this standard stock item editor does not have a reference to the product, is because we normally would create or manage those through the product entity here and not via a dedicated browse screen. So this will be, let's go like this, and now we actually have a particular product. And if we then also go ahead and create our customer, so if we do like this, then we now should have everything in place. So the customer we can already select, and order date, whatever. And then for the order line, we now actually have the possibility to select a particular stock item. And then we define when it should start and when it should end. And then, an order line is actually added to this subtable here. And if we store that, then we have, created an order. So with that, we have our initial goal of creating a standard user interface for managing orders already achieved. But if we look at this particular usage on how to create order lines and how to select something, then this is very much related to how the data model right now looks like. So we have an association between an order and like a one-to-many composition between an order and an order line, and an order line has a reference to a stock item, and a stock item has a reference to a product. And although this is technically correct, it is also perhaps not really relevant for the end users. And therefore, in particular, like, hitting here create and then selecting a stock item, this feels very clumsy right now. So I think for the next videos, we can enhance that experience a little bit. And this is where in Jmix, we actually get away from, generating the standard, CRUD screens and go actually to, proper UI development, or where we have, custom logic in place that actually, blends away this idea of this data model and actually, presents a more usable user interface, and then under the hood it, creates the corresponding data structures. So I have created here like some kind of visual representation of how the user interface could look like. And this is probably where we will go in the next videos. So first of all, we could start with having like a list of orders and then, having a create button here. So this seems to be reasonable. And then potentially, you would like to have, instead of this, the drop down that this lookup screen, so where you can just hit this 3 dots here, and then it will actually, open up another screen, and then you can filter. So perhaps it would be good if we already improve that. And, for example, it could be that we have just a big search box here, and then we, search for one particular item. And if we find that, then the UI actually will change. So it now goes into some kind of a read-only mode, and only if you hit this button, then you would be able to change the customer once again. And the same could be true for products. So here right now, if we look again into our order lines, then you really, in order to say, I would like to have a particular, I don't know, like an iPad that I want to rent or something, the way actually to get to this information that it's an iPad, the selection is actually very far away. And we could actually invert this whole idea. So we could, have a search box for products, and then you can, search for any kind of information. And then if you select one, then it will, under the hood, actually, create the order lines and put that here into this table, and perhaps even, have the ability to add like quantities or whatever, or even change the price. And then also the total will be calculated here on what it's going to cost. And in particular, so right now we have in our UI, this starts at and ends at is actually on the line or on the order line, but it might be more applicable that this information actually should be entered here globally for the whole order. So there might be reasons where you would want to have different order lines having different start and end dates. But I think in general, we can conclude that this is more, an information that should be on the order, because at the end of the day, you will come to this rental business and actually pick up the stuff that you want to rent. And then you normally, pick all the stuff up, and then, 2 days later, you come back and bring it back. So here, once again, we see that we could improve or like diverge the user interface from the actually domain model. And then potentially even, have that as some kind of very, very prominent part of this order UI. And based on this information here, it actually would need to find the corresponding products that are available. Because if we have something, that is already rented, then we, cannot really offer that for rent once again at this particular point in time. So this means there is some, proper logic going on here in this screen at the end. And this is what we will implement then over the next videos here. I think for now we have achieved our very first goal, and I would then go ahead and just finish this particular task here, and then we will tackle the next parts in the next videos. Okay, thank you for watching, and then see you next time.